things you can learn about BDSM to make your sex life better is not about violence. It's about trust and vulnerability. Many couples come to therapy when things in the bedroom are not as exciting as they once used to be. They ask themselves questions like, is it even possible to keep the spark alive after 20 years of being married? How do I fix something without knowing what the problem is? How do we make sex a normal part of our lives again? People might blush at the mention of whips, binds, and blindfolds, but studies have shown that the BDSM, bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, sadism and masochism community is more satisfied in the bedroom. If we look past the props and the sex dungeon imagery usually attributed to the group, we can see that there is still much to be learned from the BDSM's core philosophy of unapologetic authenticity, safety, and clear communication. So in today's video, we will be discussing 2 pieces of wisdom from the world of kink and fetishism that almost every couple can incorporate into their sex lives. But first, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Jordan Travers. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist and the clinical director of Awake Therapy. If you're interested in learning more about the Awake Therapy team, you can click on the link in the description. And if you're in need of psychological or emotional support, feel free to book an initial consultation with one of our therapists by visiting our website, www.awaketherapy.me. Okay, so let's get right into it. The first is communication is everything. People usually look at sex as a physical, pleasure-seeking activity that fulfills a need. The BDSM community looks at it like play, something that engages your intellect and creativity along with your body and senses. When you look at sex in all its complexity and potential, communication becomes very important. While we mistakenly associate sexual communication to talking dirty, which can feel scripted and inauthentic, talking about your likes and dislikes, your boundaries, and your fantasies is an essential part of a healthy sex life. Conversations about your deepest desires and secret interests can open a new dimension of your sexual relationship. It could help you create scenes, dabble in role play successfully, and establish safe words while having sex. It can also help you experience a higher degree of intimacy and trust with your partner. Being deliberate and curious in your sex life doesn't complicate it. It adds new color to it. And number 2, if it isn't clear, it isn't consent. Explicit and enthusiastic consent is the central principle of BDSM philosophy. While assumed consent is common in mainstream sexual interactions, many BDSM practices use danger and power play as tools to induce excitement and to avoid unintentional displeasure. The BDSM community relies on clear indications of consent, whether that's verbal or in certain cases written consent. It also gives both partners the inviolable right to revoke consent through safe words. This is contrasted by more mainstream sexual interactions where consent is actually quite unclear. Let me give you an example. When a partner is not asked and also does not give an explicit objection, consent is assumed. And sometimes a partner assumes you've given consent, but the sex may not be desired. Consent is sometimes culled out of their partner through persuasion and negotiation, and this is not true consent. Consent is not about making sex safe. It's also about giving and receiving confirmations of pleasure. Explicit consent opens the floodgates for deeper sexual communication. This can also make you a better listener in bed, and it can help you know your partner better while also making you a more assertive sexual partner. So in conclusion, power play and pain-induced pleasure might not be everyone's cup of tea, but clear communication, trust, and deep interpersonal intimacy can make any sexual interaction more pleasurable and more meaningful.